have to have that off. Okay, so here's the deal. And da-da-da-da-da. Right? Well, theoretically speaking. Hey guys, what's up? We're on episode 4 of the Theoretically Speaking podcast, here with Annalies and Harper to talk about some medical theories. What are we talking about today, Harper?
Well, while I pull it up, Annalies, let them hear your voice and just kind of tell them your background with medical.
Hi guys, I'm Annalies. I am an ICU nurse. I've been an ICU nurse for almost 3 years now. And I have a background in liberal arts and then nursing. And I really enjoy it. And I like science. And I didn't think I did as a kid, and then I started doing nursing, which is a lot more practical, and sort of the science followed behind that, and I really enjoy it now.
Okay.
Science is fun.
It is. I know at least 2 of them. I don't really
I know
remember
mine.
yours. Okay.
Mine is about caffeine affecting people with ADD and ADHD, affecting them the same way that Adderall or Vyvanse or any other medication would. What are the other 2 that we're covering?
So the other ones are, I keep losing it, but I have it. It's just right here.
I know one is Frankenstein because I'm super excited to talk about that.
Right, okay. So that was it.
That's our spooky one for this October cast, whether or not the Frankenstein monster is possible.
Yeah, especially with all the new technology and whatever we have that they didn't have in 1818 when it was written. Mm-hmm. Even though it was published in 1820.
Oh
I
my
believe. But mine is actually like a theory that came out of a joke with my friends in high school, but it has just gone on for so long between us that I have to know, because we were in anatomy and physiology, and our teacher had started her career just primarily as a nurse, but then she got certified to teach and everything, so she was the nurse at the school, but she was also the A&P teacher. And we always joked around in her class, and she was like pretty tolerant of it, but she would never answer this one question. So I've held this question in forever.
I'm kind of stressed.
My friends and I, we came up with this goofy question one day where we tried to ask her if it would be possible for 2 people to live while being connected by one vein. Like, could they be connected by one vein and share the blood in between them, and like continue living, and like as if a doctor just was like click and then sewed the 2 veins together in between them. And she got so frustrated anytime we'd bring it up. She would not answer it.
And do not engage.
No, and for some reason we always like shortened everyone's name, so it was Nurse Parker, but a lot of times we would call her Nurse Park. I really don't know why. It was ridiculous, but it was great. So that's whatever one you want to start with.
Yeah.
If you want to leave that one, the ridiculous one, for last, it's fine.
I mean, it's really not too ridiculous. We could start with that one, actually, because I feel like Frankenstein is a lot more complex than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm trying to think of what vein you would be connected by. Like, do you have any ideas about that?
I think we were thinking like a hand vein, honestly, like something. Right, we'll go. Okay, explain for people who don't know the difference between veins and
Arteries. Okay, so arteries are carrying blood from the heart to the tissues, and they're high pressure because the heart is pumping. Mm-hmm. Veins are carrying blood from the tissues back to the heart, and they're low pressure. They just run basically off of like back pressure from everything else, from your arteries pushing. So your veins just kind of slug along. Oh, they've got some valves in there because they're static sometimes. Like if you think about in your legs, if you have blood with no pressure, it's never going to make it up your legs, but there's little valves. It kind of pushes along and it sits there for a second on the valve, then it'll push along and sit and push along and sit. And it keeps it from backflowing and pooling in your feet.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think it would be possible. I don't know why it would be possible.
Would you have to have the same blood type?
Yes, because otherwise your blood would fall apart and hemolyze.
Ugh, that sounds crazy.
Would it be more possible, like, with an artery or a vein? Like, would it matter, or...
I'm just trying to, okay, I think you'd have to be connected on 2 different points, because you'd want to make a circuit. If you have just one point, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
So if you connected, if you could make a complete circuit, then I think it could work, kind of. I don't know how much the varying blood pressures in the 2 different people would make a difference. But we do this all the time with blood. We take it outside of the body and circulate it, like in dialysis, for instance. Circulate it through a machine and then put it back. So that's not a big deal.
Okay.
I mean, I think I don't know why you would want to do that. And I'm pretty sure you'd have to have 2 different points of connection, but I think it'd be possible.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking, isn't that like the same thing with the twins who are connected at birth?
Yeah, like they share a pressure system, kind of. Like they share some of the vasculature, like the veins and arteries, wherever they're connected at. Sometimes it's just connective tissue, like...
and that's when they're easier to separate, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if they're not sharing major blood vessels or nerves, like, that's what becomes really difficult, as we will find out about Frankenstein. I'm so excited about that. I started doing a lot of research, and I was like, man, this is terrifying and you know, cool, but also should never happen, so...
Yeah.
Anyway.
Which is why he was a monstrosity.
Yes.
We went through that really quickly. So, I guess there's probably never been a case, or like there would never really be a reason to connect 2 people.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons to hook humans up to machines. Like, I mean, we do that all the time. Like, for your kidneys, you can do dialysis. And so you run the blood out to a dialysis machine and it circulates, it comes back to you. There's also one called ECMO, which is extracorporeal life support, which extracorporeal means out of body, so it's just life support out of your body. So you run, like, basically through a garden hose out of your neck. You run, like, 4 liters of blood a minute out through this machine.
So crazy.
It's a lot, and it's terrifying to take care of, because if it gets disconnected, it's just a bloodbath everywhere, and everyone dies, so... Everybody.
That's why I'm, like, not even... interested in nursing.
Well,
yeah, for real.
It's horrifying. But you run it out and it oxygenates outside of the body, and it pumps it back in. So if your lungs, that one is specifically for if your lungs don't work, and then also sometimes if your heart doesn't work too, but mainly your lungs.
Okay.
That one a lot of time gets a lot of high profile stuff, because it's such a like intense therapy. Like that one, you have 1 nurse, sometimes 2 nurses, just for that one patient.
Oh wow.
And it's a lot.
And like that's their only patient, sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess it would have to be.
So we do that, and then I'm trying to think of where else we run blood outside of the body. Those are the 2 main ones I can think of. So I mean, I don't know. It's totally possible.
But it's just, like, not necessary.
It's just not, like, I don't know why
you
would want to be connected to somebody else. But, yeah, just for fun.
Well, seriously, we were just, as much as I love Nurse Parker, her class was not my cup of tea. And that was just mostly because I enjoy science, but learning every system in the body right before lunch was not the best time. So
I was never very good at biology. I loved science of all kinds. Biology was the only science class that I ever got a C in.
Really?
The rest of the time I got A's.
I'm kind of surprised. Because I feel, I don't know.
And I took biology too, thinking that it would be, like, nice. No, still got C's.
Still sucks. I don't know. I like anatomy and physiology. I don't like...
Biology and anatomy and physiology are kind of different because, I mean, they're, like, within the same wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But anatomy and physiology is just, like, more specific.
It
doesn't have the plants.
I don't know. To me, it's so much more relatable because you actually, like, obviously you have a body. You know, and you can see, it's not like micro where you don't see, you have anatomy and, you have them both, anatomy and physiology. I don't know, I enjoyed it, but that's probably why nurse now.
Yeah, I don't know. My favorite science was probably chemistry.
I hated chemistry.
Oh, me too. Chemistry sucks.
I
do hair now. I deal with chemistry all the time. I don't understand what I do when I mix up the colors, but I know what I have to mix everything up and have it work.
Yeah.
But chemistry was awful. I think it's because both my biology teachers and my chemistry teacher were just kind of rude.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't really make it anything fun. And they were just kind of like, hated their job.
They're more lab people, maybe.
Yeah.
That's why they went into it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did anyone like physics?
No.
Physics.
I
Too
never
much
took
math.
physics.
Not my friend.
Way too
Also,
much math.
we had a teacher who was too smart to teach high school students, really. And he expected us to know the basics.
We had a teacher like that for geometry. She had her doctorate, so she was Dr. Sambatei, but she was teaching high school.
Why?
I don't know.
I think Caleb had her.
Oh my gosh, she was the worst. He probably hates her guts. She made you have a study buddy.
Because I remember that name.
Yeah. And you couldn't call her Miss Sambatei. It was Dr. Sambatei.
Oh, yeah.
She
People
was
get
foreign.
real protective of
And
that.
she would, like, snap at you, and it's like, okay, man, I'm in high school. I don't know what these things mean. You know?
That is so odd to me that she's teaching high school, especially if
maybe she
it
was
didn't seem like she loved it. That was her passion, was high school students or whatever. Like, that's just kind of odd.
Yeah.
Probably because she couldn't get a job anywhere around here because she was so mean.
Did I happen to tell you... Did you do well in geometry? I mean, like, maybe if you hadn't had that teacher or anything, did you...
Listen, I didn't do well in school because I didn't try very hard.
Yeah.
For being honest with each other. I hated math. We had to have a study buddy for that class, and me and my study buddy would split the homework. And
which is smart.
Yeah, which is smart.
Efficient.
Except for, like, one day she would do the homework and I would copy it, and the next day I would do the homework and she would copy it, but I would always forget, so we would have to do the homework.
Terrible study buddy.
Yeah, it was a terrible study buddy. We would have to do it together at lunch so that after lunch we could turn it in.
Well, anyways, what Tracy, who I work with at TC, who is like their chief creative officer, she has some sort of title that she came up with herself. And she basically does like all their advertising, all their design work and everything. I was talking with her about how I also hated math, like especially algebra and trigonometry, but I had to take those advanced maths because of the program I was in. But the one math I got an A in was geometry, and she was like, that's actually like a thing for people who have spatial, like designers who have spatial awareness tend to do better in geometry. So probably if you had cared about school a little bit more, or like had a better teacher, you might have done better in geometry.
I don't know. I think that I've like trained my brain to think that I'm so bad at math that anytime numbers get brought up, I just like instantly
shut
space
down.
out.
Yeah. I can totally understand because I hate math.
And I think it's because me and my dad would argue a lot, and we would struggle with each other in doing math, that it was so difficult for me to actually do it even as a small child. That I just would shut down, and I think that probably also has a lot to do with my ADD.
Yeah. And it probably just kind of like, how I have that stress muscle?
Yeah.
That stress muscle thing that just comes back whenever I'm in a stressful situation or have been like working a lot. I have this muscle that just like contracts really bad. So it's probably the same thing.
And you witnessed that at the Halloween party. I was like, Dad, can't do numbers right now.
No, you can't.
I can't be. You're yelling numbers at me and you're stressing me out. Just
and it's funny because the numbers were like alcohol volumes, like
and
that's
ounces
supposed to be like
and liters.
less stressful. Like let's de-stress by how much alcohol we're about to consume.
First of all, I can't do numbers, and secondly, I cannot do numbers with that man. Just because anytime he would try and help me with my math homework, I would end up crying.
And he's good at math?
He's good. He's very good at math.
That's
like
how my dad is kind of like that too.
He's a human calculator is what I used to call him.
Too good to teach it.
Yes.
My dad was kind of the same way. Where it would just be frustrating because it'd be like, why aren't you getting this? It's like,
it was always like,
can't think the same way.
This is the easy way to do it, Cassie, and I'm showing you the easy way to do it. And I would say, no, Dad, I have to show my work. I don't understand what you're saying to me because I have to write it out the way the teacher told me. And he'd be like, no, this is easy, and you're still writing it out. It's just different. And I'd be like, Dad, you don't understand. I'm going to get in trouble if I don't show my work. They're teaching me how to do it this way. And one time my brother stepped in and was like, yeah, Dad, it's a new thing. They have to start showing their work now. And my dad and my brother always had a little bit of a shaky relationship, especially when they were younger. Now that they're older, it's kind of like smoothed out.
Dads and sons.
Yeah. They, my brother butted in, and when he realized that Dad was about to make me cry because I had to show my work, and my dad got so mad that he picked him up and shoved him against the wall, and Mom was like, okay, girls, let's put it on.
We're done with math for today.
So I've always kind of had a hard time with school anyway.
Yeah. I know that they would send us home with sheets of multiplication, and
I freaking hated that.
And I could focus while reading, but I could never focus on math for some reason. I don't know
I just
why.
always had a hard time focusing. I have a hard time focusing now, honestly.
Yeah. I had to sit at the table until I finished it, so that was hours.
Yeah.
And I would always end up in tears, so I was just done.
Well, and I was homeschooled, so I had a little different experience, but I did have to make myself, I put my math book, next to my bed when I went to sleep at night, and I told myself I wasn't allowed to get out of bed till I did, the math lesson for that day, the next morning. That was the only way I could get it done, because otherwise I would put it off and put it off and put it off, and I just,
That's having a lot of discipline, though, for a kid.
Oh, everything else I was okay at. I was pretty
sufficient?
Yeah.
Or motivated?
Yeah, self-motivated. That's the word I'm looking for. But not with math. So, I had to. And then my mom, I'd get in trouble, if I went 2 months and not do any math. That's bad.
But that kind of leads into the caffeine theory.
Yeah. That does lead into the caffeine theory, where I feel like I can wake up and be okay without coffee, other than the headache. And I can drink coffee at 12 o'clock at night and go to sleep immediately. But I do feel like coffee gives me more help focusing than it does energy or anything. Not that I'm lethargic without it, but...
Have you ever had a reaction to caffeine, when people drink too much, jitters, or your heart rate being high, or you're sweating, or...
When I would drink Monsters.
Yeah.
And only when I would drink Monsters and have 2 or 3 a day without eating,
Golly.
I would get the jitters.
I don't know how you're alive.
She's ridiculous.
I would die. If I drink 2 cups of coffee back to back before work, I get to work and I can't focus for the first hour, and it sucks.
Honestly, let me account to you how much coffee I've had today. I had a cup when I got up. I took a shower. I got to work. I had a little tiny one of those styrofoam 8-ounce cups while I was doing hair. And it's so cold there that I just constantly drink it all day, every day, because it's freezing in that salon. And it's the only thing warm. And especially today when outside was cold.
Outside
I
was
had
cold.
an additional 3 cups between 11:30 and 1:40 when I finally left.
Holy crap!
And I'm thinking about getting coffee after we leave here.
We
and I have
tea.
0 jitters, so
Yeah.
I feel fine.
You seem fine. I think. I don't know what's going on inside of you.
I would be interested. So, have you, you said you get a headache if you give it up.
I get a headache if I don't have it in the morning, but if I only have 1 cup a day, I don't get a headache. So.
And you don't feel more tired or more... You just maybe don't feel as focused.
Yeah. It's hard for me to focus on things, especially with the headache. But if I go a couple of days, I remember I was having hormone problems and I had to cut off of it, and I would forget everything. I would set my phone down and immediately forget where I put it. I was constantly lost. I was having a hard time.
And you have ADD?
I do have ADD, and I took Vyvanse for it for 3 years in between middle school and high school, and made me a little bit psychopath, so don't like medication.
I could totally see how that would be treating, because that's how, I mean, when you're, like, when ADD people are off their medication, I worked with this nurse who was hilarious. She was this tall, blonde Barbie that was, like, super ADD, and she was usually on meds, but when she got pregnant, she had to stop taking them. And it was terrifying, and it was really, really funny, because she would forget stuff in the middle. We'd be, like, coding a patient, like, doing chest compressions, and she'd forget stuff. But she had, like, she was so freaking, I don't even know how to describe her, because she was so hilarious, and
that it was, like, okay.
That it was okay.
Yeah.
But that sounds like
I forget
people that are ADD off their meds. If you, like, when you stop drinking coffee.
I'm shampooing somebody, 2 shampoos, 1 conditioner, and I'm shampooing, and I'm like, was that your first or your second shampoo? Mm-hmm. And they're like, I think you only did 1.
I can't tell.
So I did.
Yeah, I had no idea that
so
you
relaxed.
did it twice. Yeah, I don't even focus.
Yeah,
that's
2
the best part.
2 shampoos, 1 conditioner.
That's the best part.
So I forget stuff, like, in the middle of things, and poor Harper and my sister are list people, and they'll, like, say it out loud, and I have a hard time keeping up. So I'm like, look, I need you to repeat that, and then they'll start again, and I can feel myself, like, spacing out, and I'll be like, look, you should probably just save your breath, because for whatever reason right now, I'm not going to be able to grasp what you're saying to me.
I wonder, okay, but if you're drinking coffee, that's better.
It is a little bit better.
Okay.
It's still something that I, like, live with.
Yeah.
So.
Huh. Well, I did a little research on that, and I have to look at my notes because it's a very specific gene. But your caffeine sensitivity comes down to this gene, which is CYP1A2. So just remember that. But it's an enzyme that's what metabolizes in your liver. So, like, your liver breaks down, like, drugs, alcohol, and caffeine.
Yeah.
So 10% of people, which I feel like you're probably in this 10%, can drink a ton of coffee, energy drinks, whatever, and they have a higher production of that enzyme, and so they just metabolize it, like, super fast. It's out of their system. It doesn't affect them. So that's why you can drink coffee at midnight and go to sleep no problem.
Yep.
Some people they have the opposite effect, where they have too little of that enzyme, and they're the people where if they have, like, even 1 cup of coffee, they're having jitters.
Like freaking Hank, he drinks like half of a
Yes.
cold brew, and he's like, all right, I'm having a panic attack. We gotta get out of here.
Yes. Exactly like that. Especially, and he shouldn't drink cold brew because it's stronger.
It's
he
the
should
most
just drink
caffeinated thing.
Yeah, but those people, it takes them, like, up to twice as long to metabolize it. So that's the main thing that it comes down to. There's also several others that, like, one of them, there's 2 genes that affect how you feel rewarded with caffeine, which I've never thought of that as being a thing, and honestly I didn't get too far into researching that. But I do, like, I mean, to me, coffee drinking, like, and the caffeine isn't so much a reward system. Like, I feel more focused, but, like, it's the act of drinking it. Like, it's just this nice warm beverage.
Oh, yeah, for
I'm
sure.
waking up.
Me and my mom, for sure, both have to have our coffee in the morning, and we'll sit with it just right in our chest, and we'll hold it to us, and it'll be nice and warm.
But there's, like, a reward system, so I feel like, I guess maybe if you don't have that gene, I feel like I have, like, a lot of that gene. I'm probably just making that up. But if you don't have it, then those are the people that would be like, I don't care, like, I could drink coffee, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah,
whatever.
Those people are weird.
They are. My mom was like, she always said, before I started drinking coffee, she was like, why would you not drink coffee? It's God's gift to humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just life is better with it. It's just better with coffee. I do feel that way now. And I gave it up for Lent. I didn't have headaches. Now I probably would. I feel like I drink a little bit more now. But I didn't have headaches, but I just missed the
my sister,
happy feelings.
My sister is pregnant now, so she can only have, like, a certain amount.
Oh, yeah.
But she's so used to having, like, 2 or 3 cups that she'll have her certain amount that she can have, which is, like, 1 8-ounce cup or something.
Yes, it's horrible.
And she'll also have, in addition to that, like 3 cups of warm water.
Oh,
Just because she wants her like warm beverage in the morning.
that's
so
kind of gross. I can't
Yeah.
believe she can drink that.
Well, she would drink warm water at work because she wasn't allowed to have coffee in the bridal shop. Wedding dresses are all white.
Oh.
So she would just
makes
drink
sense.
warm water when she got cold instead of a cup of coffee like I do.
Kind of like the taste of warm water. Like,
I do
think
not at all
that's
think it's
water.
gross.
I don't
Yeah,
think it's
it's kinda
gross if it's like
nice.
intentionally warm, but I much prefer it to have a flavor like tea or
Yeah,
coffee.
I mean,
or,
I feel like I could put some lemon in there and it'd be okay.
I don't drink a lot of caffeinated drinks. I've been drinking Sprite lately more than usual. I think it's just because I've got a lot going on with school and stuff.
I hate Sprite.
But
Are you serious?
Well,
Yeah.
Sprite doesn't even have caffeine.
No,
I always
it doesn't.
forget
So,
that.
I-
But that is like
Yeah.
the only caffeinated drink. It can be caffeinated but not have caffeine, right?
No.
No,
What
it's
is-
carbonated.
Carbonated.
That's what
right.
yeah.
So it's carbonated but has no caffeine. But I always end up drinking Sprite. Like, it's like if I drink a Dr. Pepper or a Coke and maybe that's why I don't like coffee. It's like too much. Like, I can't really finish them. It's either too sweet or
Well, you don't like the taste of coffee.
I don't like the taste of coffee, no. But I was never like a Dr. Pepper person or a
I
Coke
hated Dr.
person.
Pepper.
Yeah, I don't like
I always
Dr.
like
Pepper either.
Sprite.
It's too sweet.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like
It's like
medicine.
syrup. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It tastes like medicine.
But I have a follow-up question about the gene.
Okay.
So, is it possible, which you probably weren't prepared for this because I didn't know what your research was going to be, could it be possible that that gene that allows people to metabolize caffeine quickly could be linked to having ADHD? Like, could it be common for people to have both genes?
I don't know. That would definitely. I mean, that would have to be a study. There's the only way that you could look into that. I feel like
It's just kind of funny because once I heard you talking about it and everything, it reminds me of my mom's best friend who's grown up, like, I've called her my aunt my whole life, and she is like a hardcore coffee drinker, drinks it like throughout all the day, can drink it at midnight and go right to sleep, that sort of thing. And she just has like a naturally peppy personality, though. It's not like caused by coffee. So I feel like she would be her or not her with or without coffee. I don't know how it is with her focusing, but like I feel like she does have like ADHD a little bit. Like, I feel like y'all's personalities are similar in that
Yeah.
respect. So I'd have to ask her more about it, but I just thought that was interesting.
I'm trying to think of other people I know with ADD and whether or not they drink a lot of coffee.
My brother has ADD and he drinks a ton of coffee. He drinks twice as much as me, but he's also like 3 times the size
Yeah,
of me.
he's
So,
huge. I don't know.
And I wonder how, like, we have friends who are very anxious people and they drink a lot of coffee.
I think
And,
that
like-
the caffeine, though, if you drink too much caffeine, I think it can give you anxiety.
I do think,
Because it is an upper, it can kind of cause...
Enhance it.
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think this is totally a theory, sort of. I can't confirm this. I'd have to ask her. But my little sister, I feel like when she's stressed or anxious, she drinks like way more coffee. Like she's like
calm herself
constantly.
down?
I don't know. I don't think it's. I almost think of like it's like self-feeding. Like it's
Yeah.
making it worse. But it's like
Oh, yeah,
she
Yeah.
needs.
Kind of like
I
that
know.
feeling of having a deadline and you're right on top of it, so
Yeah.
you have like the kicking gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of.
Whereas I don't feel like I drink more coffee when I'm stressed necessarily.
No. I kind of know, I'm very self-aware, and I've talked to several, because I've had clients that were psychologists or psychiatrists, and I just, they'd ask me questions, and I'd, say something, and I'd be like, but I know blah, 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 and they'd be like, huh, that's very self-aware.
Yeah.
I would not have expected, hear somebody with that problem say that.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think that I typically am, very self-aware in the fact that if I know that I'm anxious, I won't drive, because
Yeah.
driving makes me anxious. I won't use my inhaler because I know that it speeds up my heart rate. And even though I can't breathe because I'm anxious, not going to try and do that. I'll, have half a cup of coffee and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the time, like, I have to, like, do crazy stuff because I'm just, like, I guess I'm so self-aware that I just can't rest until it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you get anxious, like, in order to combat it, you have to, like, trick your brain.
Yeah.
Basically.
But...
This is all theoretically speaking, though.
Yeah, this allegedly.
Allegedly, you have to trick your brain. I don't know. I think when I'm stressed, I feel like I combat it more by, like, I don't know. I feel like I'm a little self-aware and that, like, I know when I'm stressed, and so, like, I force myself to, like, shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I feel like my sister, for instance, if she's stressed, she speeds up, you know?
Yeah.
Like, she just goes into overdrive to cope with it. Whereas I, like the other day for the Halloween party, I was super stressed because I was making, like, 12 different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like, okay, I'm making this last thing, I'm having a glass of wine, and I'm going to go get in bed. I do not care that there's, like, 12 other things that I have to make, and I have to wake up super early, and I need to go finish my Halloween costume or whatever. Like, I have to shut down.
To just get refreshed.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Or just not spiral into, like, a sobbing puddle.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, it either goes one way or the other. I'm either going to kick into overdrive and crash and burn, which sometimes that's fine because it, like, has really good outcomes, like whatever I'm working on.
Yeah,
might turn out really good.
Well, and that's how my sister is. I mean, she definitely thrives under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I
do
don't.
not.
Yeah.
My work is only going to get crappier, like, the longer I stress.
Yeah.
Those tombstones almost didn't get made.
Because you almost shut down.
I was like, look, if this doesn't work and they don't look good after this, I'm throwing them all away, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I give up.
I would, no, that, like...
That's how I felt about the caramel apples. Because it was like, all right, this is the second attempt, I'm over it. This is, like, the fourth time in 2 years that these have failed, we're done.
I think it's because, like, I'm so freaked out by failure. Like, I can't accept that it's okay for it to not turn out the way I planned.
Well, if
Does that
nobody
make
knows
sense?
that you plan to do something, you're not really failing.
Yeah,
That's the way I look at it.
I feel
That's
like...
why I was hoping no one would notice that they were in the fridge, and so it was just like no one will know
My
that
mom
And then when she knew, she could just throw them away the next day when she found them.
My mom knew that those were, like, ones we didn't want to give out.
Oh, good.
And she saw them, and she was like, man, everybody's drunk. She was like, hey, guys, taste these.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. And I remember that one
She
day.
was like, after I did that, that's when I knew it was time for me to go to bed.
Your mom turns into, like, chaotic evil, like, the longer she stays up. That's
We all know
hilarious.
that's where I get it from now.
That is so funny. Yeah, because those got brought out, and I was like, son of a gun, like, damn it.
Honestly, I was so drunk that I couldn't even taste it. I was like, I know this has sugar on it, and I know that it's probably good.
Remember?
Feel the
Yeah,
crunch.
they looked terrible. It didn't taste that bad.
I was like, I can feel the crunch, and it's kind of sweet, so I'm going to say that it's good.
Cassie, like, had a whole plate of food she forgot about.
I did. I saw it the next morning.
So funny. Well, no, so it stayed out all night?
Uh-huh.
At the party, you were like, Harper, this is where my wasabi egg is. I never even ate that.
Did I really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we were
I just
talking
need
about
everybody
it.
to know the reason that I was so affectionate with all of you guys is because the drink that I was drinking was actually vodka.
Yes. The alcohols got swapped somehow.
I did not know that.
And I still don't know. I don't know which one was which.
Dad messed it up. Okay, my dad put all of the tequila ingredients with the vodka.
Uh-huh.
So the apple cider drink was the vodka drink. And
I don't know.
and
I
he
just
put
know
all
that-
of the vodka ingredients with the tequila. So I was like, Dad, no wonder. And he's like, you said you didn't like vodka anyway. Ha ha, you were wrong. I said, Dad, I don't like vodka because
Oh
it
my
makes
gosh.
me an emotional basket case.
That really sounds like he was just trying to mess with you.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Because I feel like your dad would do that.
Well, he didn't know that it affected me that way.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I would have personally told you. And Hank was like, I told you that. And I was like, I didn't believe
No,
you.
but the thing is, Hank and your dad were telling two completely opposite stories about which drink was which. Like, they knew they got mixed up and
Hank
they weren't
didn't
sure.
know that my dad had messed up that much.
Okay.
So Hank was like, this is vodka, this is tequila, but they're still the same drink.
Mm-hmm.
He just thought that the vodka one was the apple cider one. the pots got mixed. And I said, no, the apple cider was supposed to go with the tequila. That's why I thought it was the tequila drink.
Yeah.
That's why I was drinking it all night, because I was like, apple cider equals to tequila. Got it.
Oh, it was so sweet, though, because every time, you came up to me like 4 different times. And
Yeah,
you were
I
like,
loved
you guys
it.
are so cute.
I
Thank
know.
you for coming to my party.
It was great. It was a side of Cassie you never see.
Oh, it was so adorable.
Dad, no wonder. I was telling everybody how much I loved them.
But you know what? Seth and I were talking about that yesterday, actually. I was like, if you're throwing a party, you deserve to get completely trashed. Like, if you invited all these people over to your house, decorated your house, like, put out this food, made costumes for every single one of your pets.
And your parents.
You deserve to get trashed. I feel like last year when I hosted it, I was pretty well toasted. I wasn't quite... Seth was gone, which was hilarious.
It was great.
But again, like, you don't have to drive, and you just went through all that for the last couple of days, like, putting together this party.
Especially
you should be able to
those
get drunk.
dang tombstones.
It's freaking tombstones, so they're all falling apart now because it rained and they were outside, but that's okay.
My favorite part
great.
of Drunk Cassie was when you came up to me when you were playing Jenga, and you hugged me, and you were like, I'm so glad we started a podcast together. I was like, oh, me too. Like, I'm so lovey-dovey, so I was just all about it.
I was
so
like
happy.
thinking about that the next morning. I was like, man, why was I so like emotional? And Dad was like, oh yeah, the drinks got mixed, and I was like, well,
now I know.
That's that.
It was so funny. You had a good party.
I'm glad you guys liked it.
I was actually very surprised at myself that I stayed the whole time.
I was really happy that you stayed the whole time.
Me
I was like,
too.
last time she showed up and stayed for the games and then left.
Yeah, well, and it
that's
wasn't
what I was
like
expecting this
that
time.
conscious of a decision. I just didn't know anyone.
Yeah,
except
you knew most
Allison.
of the people at this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then this time, Allison and you, and like I'd met you once.
One time, yeah.
And even though I've only met you like very rarely since then, I just feel so much more comfortable. I'd only been living in Bossier for a couple months at that point, and now I've lived here over a year. So it was much better, even with there being people I didn't know there.
Plus, you're probably more comfortable in my house this time because you
I
were
talked
there,
to your
like,
mom about that.
2 or 3 times a week for like the whole month before.
Yeah, just like more and more over there, doing the podcast, doing projects, even just hanging out, It's just really good.
Man.
But speaking of Halloween and parties
and spooky things.
Okay, I'm so excited about Frankenstein.
Spooky Frankenstein.
So the question is whether it's possible. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
A
So
full page of notes and a cute doodle. There is a very cute doodle. I feel like I need to put a picture
But
of
man,
that.
your handwriting is so small I can't even see it.
oh, it's small, but it's terribly messy. Okay, so Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, right? Basically, they were stuck inside all summer. Her and this, like, 3 or 4 other writers. And they decided they were going to have a competition about who could write the best horror story. So, she wrote Frankenstein, and in the book, the method in which the monster is created is extremely vague. And the way she gets by it is, like, she has Dr. Frankenstein saying, like, well, I don't want to tell you my methods because this should never be replicated.
As a writer would.
Yes.
Speaking as a writer, I would so go around not having to figure all that science out.
Yeah.
And just being like, it was a secret he kept to the death.
Yeah. I'm not telling anybody. Yeah. So, and the only thing in there, and it doesn't actually mention electricity. It just says that it was some sort of, like, powerful machine maybe, or powerful mechanism. I don't remember the exact words. But later on, people inferred that it was electricity.
I thought that there was a big storm. I never read it, but I listened to it
I read it once in
audiobook.
college.
2 or 3 times. And I thought that there was a big storm in that, but I could just be making it up.
Maybe there was. I don't know if that's just for spooky effect, or maybe I don't know. But
Maybe
they did.
it's just for spooky effect.
It's generally accepted that the monster was created using electricity. And this is a popular theory at the time. It's called galvanism. He was an Italian scientist that sort of created this idea because he was working with a dead frog, and he accidentally somehow introduced an electric current through his scalpel into this frog's leg, and it jumped.
Oh.
And so they named this theory after him. He called it animal electricity, and he thought that it was because the frog's leg retained like inherent electricity and he was able to like access it.
Mm-hmm.
And later on they then decided that no, it was just that you introduced electricity into this frog's leg.
Yeah. Like his nerves and stuff
Right.
reacted?
Right.
Okay.
And so this was really popular at the time that Mary Shelley was writing, and also like she would have known about this theory.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the other reason that people think that's how in the book the Frankenstein monster was created, was with electricity.
Okay, so I haven't read the book, but I wanted to, but I just like didn't have time.
It's really good if you
It's
ever have
really
time.
like a monster of a novel, though. Even
Yes.
just listening to it was a feat for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the 1800s, I feel like everything was longer.
Yeah, because that was their major form of entertainment.
And
We
like
wanted
if
to
it
make
was for a
long.
contest,
Yeah.
you know, she was gonna win. But in the book, did she have the little
Bolts?
Yeah.
No, those I'm pretty sure weren't added until
Like the film?
yes. It wasn't Bela Lugosi, it was that other famous actor. I wish I knew his name.
Mm.
Anyway, the like go-to
Mm-hmm.
like picture of Frankenstein's monster that you think of in your head with the bolts and the square head and the kind of greenish skin, although it was black and white, was from this original movie, and they added those because of the electricity thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I was just curious because we were talking about the electricity.
well, and so it is, I don't know, from personal experience working with like brain dead patients, even if someone is technically brain dead, that means that you don't have cranial reflexes, because your brain's kaput, it's gone. But you can still have spinal reflexes, which recently kind of freaked me out because I had a patient that became brain dead over the course of a couple of days from a massive insult to their brain. But this particular patient still had a spinal reflex where if you touched their foot, it would jump. Which freaked me out because I was like, well, are they really brain dead? Like, can they really declare them? So I did some research at the time. This is before I even knew about this whole podcast theme. But you can have spinal reflexes and be brain dead, which is important when you come to whether or not the Frankenstein monster is possible now. Because, and I'm sure y'all already know because it's been sort of circulating, there's a doctor that wants to do a head transplant.
Yes.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
heard about
I've
that
heard about that
I feel
too.
like I've heard about that for like a year.
Yes. And he keeps saying, this guy, it's incredible. This was like my favorite thing to research. So it's Dr. Canavero, who's Italian, and he is a neurosurgeon that wants to do a head transplant. And people basically are seeing him as like this mad scientist, like creating the Frankenstein monster.
Yeah.
So what he would do, what he's proposing, is to take a brain dead body, which still has spinal reflexes and circulation and all of that, and attach someone with a healthy head and brain, but maybe a wasting body, or, you know, like a degenerative muscle disease, or
Like a quadriplegic.
like a quadriplegic or whatever, and attach their head to this other body. Or further on, he thinks that maybe he can like basically freeze your brain and bring you back to life by putting your brain in a brain dead person.
Like they did, I believe didn't they freeze Walt Disney? Tell me if I'm wrong.
A lot of people have been getting frozen.
Yes.
What is that called? Cryo something?
Cryo something. Cryo sleep, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's like a common thing because people think that they'll be able to bring you back to life later on. They say that we're like either the last generation to die or the first generation to live forever.
It's kind of crazy.
Yep.
It's horrifying.
I feel like we're a little bit too early for that.
Yes, everyone needs to just calm their titties. So So anyway, so his idea is he had this guy who agreed to do this. This Russian man who has a degenerative muscle disease, I think, or musculoskeletal nerve, some kind of issue. And he's wheelchair bound. And he said, sure, I will be your candidate.
You must have to have, like, a miserable life to be willing to, like, possibly die.
Well, and I think because his disease is terminal, he agreed to do this for the chance to get a working body that he could walk in. Now, he pulled out, actually, of the study in, I think, April of this year.
Wow.
So now...
Did they say why?
Because I think he just decided, like, that it was too risky and he wasn't really gonna, like, get the results that he wanted. Mm-hmm. Which, good for him, because this whole process is terrifying.
Yeah.
So, the general idea that Dr. Canavero wants to do, like, he'll lop the head off. He's gonna cool it to, like, 12 degrees Celsius, which is, like, in the 50s Fahrenheit. To try to save brain tissue, which we do that if you're... Okay. I feel like I'm getting so technical. If your heart stops...
I'm following.
Okay, good. If your heart stops, like you go into cardiac arrest and we bring you back, but your brain doesn't come back, one of the things we do is cool you down. Because by cooling a person down, you save brain tissue from having the inflammatory response that kills their brain, and they can come back. Once you rewarm them after several days... they have a much higher chance of having, like, an intact...
Oh, so it's kind of like you put them in a coma, but cool them down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's something that we know about, that if you cool somebody down, it saves brain tissue.
Okay.
So he's going to cool them down, he's going to chop their head off, he's going to ligate all the blood vessels, and then suture them together on the body. And they're going to very cleanly cut the spinal cord.
This is so freaky.
Isn't it awful? Mm-hmm. And then fuse it together using polyethylene glycol as a glue, is what he's calling it. Which that's actually the only time, well, the major time that we use it is in laxatives. So I really don't know why this helps with making your spinal cord fuse, but that's what he thinks. And then the kicker is that he's going to use electrical pulses to help fuse the spinal cord.
Like Frankenstein.
Then I bet they'd have to have the bolt, too.
Or something. They'll put little leads, I guess,
yeah.
and do electrical impulses onto the spinal cord to help it fuse together. Because apparently that speeds spinal regrowth.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's nuts.
Yes.
I mean, I knew that was, like, a thing. They covered it on Mysterious Universe, but... hearing, like, you explain it in great detail is just crazy.
So that's his plan, and then the person would be in a coma for a month to help the spinal column fuse without them moving their head or whatever.
Yeah.
Then they wake them up, and he thinks that when they wake them up, they would immediately be able to think, speak, feel their face, and then potentially with some physical therapy or whatever, and he thinks within a year, this is is not possible, but he thinks they would be able to walk eventually. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, like, it's the waking them up that's the scariest part to me.
Yeah.
Because everybody else, basically, that's looking at this thinks this is terribly unethical. Like, awful. And I agree. Mm-hmm. One of his critics, one of the other, like, neurosurgeons was like, there are things worse than death, and this is what you're going to put this person through.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is Dr. Paul Myers from the University of Minnesota that said that if you do this, what you will get is a shambling horror, an animal driven mad with pain and terror, crippled and whimpering. Most likely, what he'd have is a collection of corpses that suffered briefly before expiring.
Jeez.
Which, if that doesn't sound like Frankenstein's monster,
does.
yes, driven mad with pain and terror, and anyway.
Yeah. And, go ahead.
It's awful. It's just awful.
Well, even then, but I don't think that they'd be able to move anything for a long while, because your brain has to figure out how to work with the, like, nerve system in that specific body. I think, like, yeah, everybody has it, but each one definitely works differently.
Well, and that's where they're thinking the pain is coming in, because, like, like, if you have any kind of nerve damage, a lot of times what you're getting is pain. You know, like, people that are diabetic and have nerve damage in their feet or whatever, they feel a lot of pain. They have that pain and tingling, you know. So imagine if you severed someone's spinal column and then decided you wanted to put it back together.
Yeah.
How much pain they would be in.
Yeah.
Probably.
Do you think you would have to, like, completely transplant the spinal cord? Do you think that would be possible?
I feel like actually, yeah, maybe that would be more possible
than fusing it.
But the problem is that if you transplant, like, okay, if you sever the spinal cord, you're only fusing it in one place. If you take the whole spinal cord, like, from tip to tail, then you've got to connect it in all those different little places to go out to the extremities.
And then you have to...
That's way too much.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Neither of them are perfect.
No. And they've done this, so they've done a lot of experiments on animals, which also I think is unethical.
Is it going to be like they... Well,
it's awful. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. And I don't know if y'all can link. There's a good article that I found that has a couple of different pictures that are awful. They're horrifying.
Did
like,
they
there's
do,
one...
Like, the same animal and the same animal, or different
No,
animals?
same animals, like like a rat to a rat, a
I'm
mouse
like
to a mouse,
picturing
a dog to a dog.
like a frog and a rat.
No. But they're really creepy because sometimes they take off the whole head, but one of them, I think it was a dog, where they left the head there. They just severed the spinal column and moved it up, and then they put the other head up on top. So it's
so it had two.
And then there's like a dead. It's just so creepy. This is perfect for Halloween because it's awful.
Did any of them like work?
Okay, yes. So one of the best ones, not the best ones, but the most successful. Which, think about it, this is the most successful, was a monkey experiment in 1970, which was conducted by Dr. Robert White.
Forever ago.
And it was a rhesus monkey. It only lived 8 days. That is the most successful. They've done it with mice and dogs. Most of them only live a couple of minutes, a couple of hours, maybe a couple of days. Sorry. Go ahead.
Has this, what's his name? Dr.
Canavero.
Has he done any, like...
He has. Okay. And he always says that they've worked out well, but, like,
he says...
Right?
I feel like no one's monitoring this guy. He's just, like, in his basement collecting monkeys.
Rogue. Yeah, doing experiments on mice and trying to connect their spinal cords back together.
But only mice?
I think he's done it on a couple of different animals. The main ones have been, like, mice and rats. And there's some creepy pictures of that, too, because he'll do, like, a black rat to a white rat head, so you can definitely see that it's
difference.
Yeah. Anyway, so the rhesus monkey, which only lived 8 days, and Dr. Canavero references this experiment, and he says this animal only lived for 8 days, but it was perfectly normal and it was fine and blah blah blah.
Until it died 8 days later.
Yeah, and but it did great. It did great. No, so then there's this Dr. Silver who worked with Dr. White who conducted this experiment, and he says, this is a quote from him: "I remember the head would wake up. The facial expressions look like terrible pain and anxiety and confusion in the animal. The head will stay alive, but not very long. It was just awful. I don't think it should ever be done again."
So would the body ever wake up?
Yes, I think that the animal was able to move, but he was like, but the face just looked like it was severely stressed and in pain.
Do you think it would be different if that animal, like, knew? Like, a person who needed a head transplant...
Like, if they would have tried to deal with the pain more?
Like, if they could rationalize, like, why I'm in pain and what's going... I don't know, because, like, honestly...
Do you think that they would be quite as, like, anxious and stressed over the situation?
Maybe it would be a little less, but, like, working with humans who are in stressful situations like that, where, like, they... For instance, if you get in a car wreck and you go out and you wake up and you have a breathing tube in and you've got all these lines and you can't move because we've got your arms tied down so you don't rip your breathing tube out, you know. People panic. I mean, it takes you can rationalize with people sometimes, but a lot of times I think what's going through their head is just like, what the heck, like, why am I here, what's going on? Even though, you would think, oh, you can wake up and your nurse is telling you it's okay, calm down. No, they're not calming down. They're freaking out. You have to sedate them. It's awful, and that's just if you have a breathing tube in,
Yeah.
Some people can do fine though. Like there have been a couple patients that I've had a breathing tube, which that's horribly uncomfortable. Because it's artificially pushing air into your body, and it's a tube going down your throat right past your, gag receptor. Like it's awful. But some people can do okay with it. And they can be awake with one of those. But, like, if it was me, you'd have to knock me the heck out. Like, tie me down, knock me out. Don't wake me up till you take the tube out. Like, I don't want to know about it. So maybe it would be a little different if they could rationalize. But I still think, especially if they're in intense pain and agony, like, how awful, to wake up like that. And then that's your last couple of days of life,
Probably.
Probably.
God, that would be awful.
Yeah.
I know that, like, I don't know necessarily how it was in the book, but I know that stereotypical Frankenstein is seen, or Frankenstein's monster, excuse me, Frankenstein's monster is seen as, like, almost like a child whenever it wakes up. Like, it doesn't know anything, doesn't know where it is or why. And he has to, like that show we were watching has
Penny Dreadful, yeah.
Penny Dreadful has, like, a Frankenstein's monster storyline within it.
I think in the book, the reason that Frankenstein leaves his monster is because when the monster wakes up, it's in so much pain and agony that it's, like, it goes into this, like, enormous rage.
Yeah.
And so Frankenstein is like, okay, that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
To leave it here to starve
Failed
to
experiment.
death.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move away now.
Well, and in the book, the monster, so at first he can't talk and he has these horrible rage reactions, which he continues to have later on.
Yeah.
But he actually learns to speak. He becomes very civilized. He teaches himself, like, French and German.
Yeah. Monster gets very, very smart. He comes back and, like, stalks Frankenstein.
Yes, and he's basically a poet, but he's saying, like, why did you create me?
That sounds
Yeah,
like
I'm
Penny
this-
Dreadful.
It's very, very... Penny Dreadful is very, very close, but there's not a new monster for it to tear apart.
Yeah.
In Penny Dreadful, Frankenstein makes another monster, and the Frankenstein's monster, like, rips it to shreds.
Because he's jealous.
Because he's like, how dare you have this monster that you're taking care of when you've just left me out to die. But it's very similar except for, there was a small difference that I remember.
The theater thing?
Yeah. He didn't do that. He learned a lot of poetry and stuff, and he comes back and he almost speaks in poetry into Frankenstein.
In Penny Dreadful, that's how he is. Like, in a Shakespearean sort of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I'm pretty sure, I mean, it's been a while since I've read the book, but I remember the monster being extremely eloquent.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Like, it was so much so that it was hard for me to understand it listening to it.
But he still doesn't remember, like, anything about who he was before he was rewoken?
No, because I think that he was, like...
Because that's what I kind of get confused on. Is like,
yeah,
how
would
does
it be
he
a
wake
completely
up?
new person, or would
and-
that person have all its same memories, or does that part of the brain get
And what
damaged?
about muscle
That's-
memory?
transplant?
And, like, when people get transplants and they're, like, sometimes their body, like, or, like, heart transplants
When
and they
you
find
get, like,
themselves having a new
amputated,
taste or something like that.
or when your arm gets amputated, you have those phantom itches. And
Phantom pain. So before I read Frankenstein, my only, input for Frankenstein was Young Frankenstein with Gene Wilder, like the super goofy
I've actually
one.
never seen that one.
That's also a play, too, isn't it?
I think
It's been made into a play.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
made into a play.
They did it.
So I don't know. I wish I had a little more input into this as far as, like, media representations of him. But the thing, like, he is going from a dead body and a dead brain. So it's a little different going from, like, a live head and a live body and just connecting the two.
Okay.
From reanimating a dead body, which, although, I mean, and that's what Canavera was saying eventually he wanted to do, was take a dead brain that's frozen and put it back into some, like, a body later on, yes. Which he said would basically give you, like, immortality. But, and he said, so they talked about this a little bit, is, like, where does the consciousness come from? So, like, where does, like, your soul reside? Where does, you know, like, life itself, is it really just in your brain and neurons and synapses, or is it, you know, something else that you can,
like, in your body too?
Well, maybe not in your body too, but, like, just, like, I don't know if it would be right to say spiritually, but, like, if you have a dead brain and you make it functional again, what is it gonna be? Is it gonna be the same person?
Yeah.
Or is it totally different?
Well, a lot of people that have looked into past life regressions and things of the such, near-death experiences, believe that the consciousness is actually not a part of your body. Your body is... And people always, in near-death experiences, when they're looking down at themselves, they just see this horrible mangled person. And then slowly over time they realize, oh, that's my body. Which is why these people, these scientists that have written these books and everything, always say that they don't believe that that's part of your consciousness is part of your body. They believe that your body is just a vessel. Because people don't typically feel any sort of emotional connection or like attraction towards their body. They're just like, why am I looking at this person that's in this car wreck, horribly mangled? And then they're like, oh, because that's me, that's my body.
So if you took a brain that had been frozen or whatever and tried to put it back in a body, like, who knows what person would result from that? Would it be the same?
Yeah.
But from what you're saying, it probably wouldn't be the same person like that.
That's so weird.
I don't know.
And would it be to get completely off subject?
Wait, before you do that, then I have something. Before you go crazy on me,
remember that.
Yeah, don't forget. But what about, like, you know, if someone, like, if someone, I don't really know the technical term, but basically they die for a few minutes and then they're brought back. They're the same person that is brought back. Do you think that's just because it's so quick?
Yes.
Yeah, I think because you don't have time to have, like, a anoxic brain injury. Like, your brain is still surviving off of what little oxygen and blood it has for that period of time. Okay. Which, that's the other issue with this whole head transplant thing, is that, like, even if he was successful in reconnecting it and the spinal cord could fuse, you might have a whole other issue with maybe you didn't have enough blood and oxygen getting to the brain during that transplant, and so you get a fused spinal column, but you have an anoxic brain in there, which can't function.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just they should never do that. But, I do think it's just because it's just such a short period of time.
Yeah. I figured that was the answer.
It's not. And we say, I tell patients all the time, like, look, you died. Because they did. I mean, that's the best way to get it across to them. Like, your heart stopped. We brought you back. You know.
My dad actually flatlined in his last... he's got an allergic esophagus. And so he has to be, like, put to sleep and have it stretched. Because it will slowly over time shrink.
Close it, yeah.
And he'll, like...
Seth's dad has that too.
And he'll have a hard time swallowing things, and he's even choked on a couple of different stuff, and that's why he has to go.
Stuck in his throat, and he has to, like, go and get it, like, removed and then dilated.
Yeah, so my dad has to get his stretched, and I think it was either one of those operations that he went through, or when he got his gallbladder removed. He actually flatlined on the table, and they didn't tell my mom. They told my dad, and she was livid.
Oh yeah.
She, like, went and, like, chewed out the doctors and everything.
Yeah.
How dare you not tell me my husband died on your operating table?
It's because they're trying to look good. They don't want to they don't want to tell her that because they don't want to admit, but...
I mean, you gotta admit certain things.
Yeah, but I think that it's because it's such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Which is why the same people come back. But consider this. You transplant the head, spinal cord fuses, the brain person has already moved on to the next life. Mm-hmm. The body person has been dead for a long time. Mm-hmm. Their consciousness is out the window. There are so many other things that could jump into that body.
Yes. Which is yet another reason we should not be playing around with this. Yeah. I completely agree.
That's even if it's like not in your religion to believe in these things, such as like demons
and freaky spirits,
tricksters, body jumpers, freaking. There are all sorts of, like, if you look at it this way, there are all sorts of things they can get into that body. Imagine waking up, freaking possessed demon body.
And this is yet another reason I don't feel like we should mess around with trying to create life. Mm-hmm. That's just not our place.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to prevent somebody from dying, you know, and within a couple of seconds to bring them back, or a couple of minutes or whatever. Yeah. And really, after a certain point, you're not doing any good, you know, like, that's the thing that I wish more people understood, is that, I mean, I can bring back a body all day long. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we do that all the time, where the family says, do everything, keep doing everything, you know. Mm-hmm. It worked last time, and it's like, okay, we're just going to keep doing this. Your family members are gone. I mean, it's been, they've been gone, and I can bring them back. I have all kinds of drugs. We can do chest compressions. I can breathe for them. Mm-hmm. You know, I can bring them back, but they're already gone, you know. And so, unfortunately, like, that happens a lot more than I wish it did, and I feel like that's the reason ICU nurses have such high incidence of PTSD, is because of that.
Yeah.
But that's one thing, and that's stressful in and of itself, but, like, the idea of, like, trying to put life into something, and then you get into a whole other spiritual element that you do not want to be involved in, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I'm not overly, like, superstitious, or, I don't know. I just feel like, but, like, you're definitely messing in stuff you shouldn't be messing in.
You're leaving that body open. There's no consciousness in there to say yes or no to whatever wants to get inside of that body. It's just a live body that has no living spirit in it.
Yeah.
Well, I think even if nothing, like you're saying, jumps into it, then why are we doing this? Why are we bringing back a body? I don't care about a body. Yeah. And that's the thing that I try to get across to patients' families, is that the body's here, whatever. You know, that doesn't matter. The person is not here. So why are we even bothering?
Yeah.
Because they're gone. And so why do we want to, just to say that we can? Like, that sounds a whole lot like kind of the Tower of Babel. Like, just so we can, you know, just to prove that we're the best.
Humans are smart.
Yeah.
Look at us.
But you're missing the big picture.
Yeah. For sure. So, final verdict. Do you think it's possible or not possible?
I think it might be possible. I do not think it should be done. Just because you can do it doesn't mean that you should.
Possible, kind of pointless.
Yeah, possible, and not at all the way that he's saying that it can be done. Like, it would be, I think, intense pain. I think it would only last for, maybe a day. Mm-hmm. Maybe, that this body would survive.
Not worth it.
Definitely not worth it. Definitely not worth it for the person that's donating the head.
I'm glad that guy backed out.
Yeah.
Me too.
And now they're thinking that they're going to he's working with a Chinese doctor, and so they're trying to get somebody from China to volunteer to do it. They're thinking fall 2018.
Oh my god.
Is the latest.
China's so overpopulated. They're sure to find someone.
Yeah.
Feel like they could just, bribe someone and they do it.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's crazy.
But that's
final verdict: Frankenstein is possible. Totally spoopy.
Very, 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 very. And as again, I liked the guy that said there are things worse than death, because there are. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
And I deal with that all the time. And emotionally, that takes a toll, dealing with. Yes, we can do this medically, but should we do this medically?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And would you want this for your family member? You know, would you want this for yourself? If they were in this position and could talk to you right now, would they want you to continue? You know, whatever. And so, like, especially in this case, like, why would you voluntarily put somebody in that position to be in intense pain, to be essentially, like, tortured? It's a medical experiment. It's just not. It's not. No. But very spooky.
Very spooky.
Very spooky.
Good for Oktobercast.
All right.
Time for Would You Watch That? A bundle of fun. Also, I found out Walt Disney is technically not Frozen. Yeah. I don't believe he is. I'm trying to check it out, but it's a lot of reading. So
I'll let you guys know next week.
Yeah. So let me grab my my ones.
Annalies, I don't know if you've listened to any of our other podcasts, but Would You Watch That is a segment where we find movie and book ideas and read them out loud and ask you, would you watch that?
I love that segment.
Yay!
I haven't listened to the most recent podcast, but I've listened to the first 3.
That's my fault. It's out now.
It is out now. I saw it, like, as I was, like, right before y'all came over, I got on Instagram and saw the post, like, it's out now, and I was like, dang it.
I was, like, thinking that I would have time before this crazy weekend we just had.
I keep telling Harper to let me do things, and she won't let me do anything.
I am now. I'm very
Gonna
bad
delegate.
at delegating. Kind of. I feel like your sister might be the same way if she's like the overdrive kind of person. Because I just have a tendency to take on too much. What has been your favorite movie idea so far? If you can think of one.
I don't know if it's really my favorite, but I really enjoyed the one where you were talking about, it was your version of the witch movie, where they go to, like, the witch farmer's market and they're meeting all the old witches. Because I love that sort of stuff. I always loved, on, like, old cartoons, like Looney Tunes, every once in a while they would have one thrown in that was, like, just for fun, that didn't have a plot. And it was just funny little variations of one thing. It was like, here are all these funny variations of a dog, you know?
Yeah.
And here are all these funny variations of people's houses or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I loved that. And so I would so enjoy watching all the little funny variations of the witches.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, how they live, and I don't know, I
Yeah.
know it's not really a plot, like that part isn't super relevant, it's not super, but I just love watching stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome. Okay, so first one. I love superhero movies.
I'm not crazy about them.
So this appeals to me. This isn't superhero movie.
This is like hard pass.
So this had, basically, this person had like 8 movies lined up, ready to go for this idea they had. And basically it was a shared cinematic Greek mythology universe. So
Kind of like Percy Jackson?
kind of like Marvel.
Okay.
So-
So it's kind of like Marvel, but each movie was about a different god?
Sort of. I mean, he or she goes into great depth. I did not read each movie in the synopsis because I wanted to give like a basic.
Right.
Theirs seemed to be more about obscure ones, not like your basics.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
So
not your typical
like
Greek mythology.
Ares and Athena would be...
It was like, I'm sure those would be like involved.
Mm-hmm.
Let me read you what their beginning, like their prologue for before they got into the like it's 13 movies.
Holy
Before they got into the 13 movies. They said franchises are a huge thing these days. Everyone wants one. Marvel did it best. DC is trying to get the hang of it, and Universal, honestly, I don't know what that mess is supposed to be at the end of the day. Comics offer this kind of thing, and what else offers it would be mythology. I've never seen a good movie about Greek mythology, and there are so many different tales to tell, and so many different heroes to introduce. Now let me propose to you a 13-movie shared cinematic universe for Greek mythology.
Holy crap.
So, obviously we would get to enjoy it for a very long time. I'm thinking live action for sure.
I'm thinking live action. I actually really love mythology things.
Me
So
too.
I kind of disagree with that person. It's because most of them are TV shows. Because the story behind everything is so long and drawn out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this person wants a 13 movie.
That person wants a 13 movie thing, which would be great, but you can't say there's nothing good. There's no good
But they're
Greek
talking about
things.
movies. I think they're probably specifically calling out good old Percy Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I loved
watched
the
one-
books.
Oh shoot, what was it even?
This was from Takara Phoenix.
I talked to Allison about it. Man, it was such a good show.
I feel like, okay, while you're looking into that one, I feel like I could see this being an HBO
Oh
show.
man, it would be so good as an HBO show.
You know,
actually.
like it could be
HBO makes the
Game of
best.
Thrones, but
Yes.
Greek mythology. Because I feel like in Game of Thrones you have so many characters, and in Greek mythology you have so many characters.
But it works so well, and you can keep up with everyone's story.
Right, because you have enough time to get through everything, which is why I'm not sure I love his idea or her idea of doing 13 different movies.
More of a series.
I think it should be a series that you follow the different storylines, and people die off or they connect later on, and you find out somebody's aunt.
Yeah.
Because really, Game of Thrones is like a big soap opera with.
Yeah.
So
With dragons.
that I
and
feel like that would
swords.
be the more effective way to present that is to do a long HBO show.
Yeah.
And you can make it super sexy or whatever, because Greek mythology, everybody's having sex with everybody.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. I
Which is
agree.
very Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like this fits in better,
Yeah.
rather than a 13
Movie
Marvel Universe type.
I agree. And also, my favorite form of entertainment is series. Because I feel like you can flesh them out so much longer. Because I like long things. I know some people want things to be one and done, but if I like good content, if I find a universe I like, I want everything I can get out of it.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I'm looking at the movie.
That's why I like the Harry Potter books so much.
Yes, I read those for the first time this summer, and it was
Really?
amazing.
Oh,
yeah.
I wish I could go back and read them again for the first time.
That's how I feel about a lot of things. I think that's why I only reread certain books.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the titles of these movies, and some of them I definitely recognize. For some reason, they chose to spell them like the names of the Greek gods and heroes differently than most. I'm not really sure the reason behind that. It kind of reminds me of when they made the live action Avatar The Last Airbender movie, and instead of calling the main character Aang, they called him Ong.
Oh,
And that
I
just makes
freaking
me
hated
dislike
that.
that. Because I'm just not about that. But there are a lot of things and it brings in like Odysseus and stuff like that, and I always really liked his story.
I feel an Odysseus would really work well in a Game of Thrones type
Yeah.
thing, because he's off doing his own thing. I mean, he's
Yeah.
off. You could
Just
follow
check back
his
Yeah.
story, and if he would come in every once in a while in a few episodes, and
Yeah.
he'd have one episode where he's primary or whatever.
I
don't-
cannot, for the life of me, find that
series.
That was such a good show, though. His mom or dad ended up being like one of the gods. But you didn't know it because, well...
And it's not Percy Jackson?
No, it's like some British TV thing, I think. The guy was very attractive. Me and Allison talked about it. It was showing me. Maybe it was called Atlantis.
That sounds good. Okay, I'm not 100% sure. I think I had this one lined up for last time, but I didn't use it. So tell me if I get
that's it. It was called Atlantis.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Check it out, guys. Atlantis. Good TV show. Attractive actresses and actors.
Do you feel satisfied now that you
I
have
do
that?
feel satisfied
I
now that I
always-
know things.
Has the Cassie Light stamp of approval now, like on the cover of the series. That's what's going to say. Recommended.
Recommended. How many out of how many stars?
10 of 10.
Good. I always liked the cartoon version of Lost City of Atlantis. I always felt like it was very underrated. But, so this is one. Fangirl-who-dreams. Great username.
Fangirl who dreams.
Yeah. Says, give me a blockbuster action film where the main protagonist is a hardcore fangirl or fanboy who would usually be considered a minor character, but then aliens invade Earth or supervillain attacks humanity or a world disaster happens like extreme weather or zombies and the protagonist ends up saving the world with their gained knowledge from every fandom they've been a part of.
Okay, that sounds extremely a lot like My Hero Academia, which is an anime, Fangirl Who Dreams. Maybe you should check that out. This
already been done.
It's this anime that me, Richard, and Hank and Brandon are all watching
Together.
And it's about this reality where everybody has a quirk, and your quirk is your superpower. And some people don't have quirks. The main character does not have a quirk.
Oh, lame.
Wants to go to the Hero Academia, super fancy hero school,
To basically get a quirk.
to try and be a hero even without a quirk. Well, the main hero, the greatest hero of all time, I forget his name, but he did not have a quirk either. He acquired his quirk, and he is teaching this kid how to also acquire the quirk.
Is it like a
believes in him.
specific quirk, or is
It's just like super strength.
Oh.
But when you use it, you have to learn how to use it. Whenever this kid uses the quirk, if he just puts all of his power into his finger breaks. Your body has to get used to it.
Damn.
So if he uses all of the force in all of his body to kill this villain thing that's in this test, his body breaks.
Jeez.
And the school nurse has
is she magical?
her quirk is she can kiss wounds better, but it it makes you really, really tired because her kisses speed up your healing process.
Yeah.
Metabolism. What did I say that for?
I don't know.
It's okay, we're still back on caffeine.
Yeah, but really good show. Already exists. Sorry.
That kind of sounds like the anime version of Sky High.
That's what
Yeah.
I was thinking of.
Which,
Kind of, but it's a little bit better than Sky High.
well, it's an anime, so that's expected. A little bit.
But this kid, literally keeps a book of hero catalogs. And
So he is the
he's
super
like a
fandom.
fanboy.
He is a fanboy. He is a legit fanboy,
trying
hero
to
fanboy.
be a hero.
And so he keeps a catalog on all of these other heroes, and we're only on episode 6 or whatever, but he's kept a hero on his friend. Guy's kind of a bully on the way that he fights, and so he actually won in a fight without using his quirk that breaks him because he knew exactly what this guy was gonna do because he kept that dang catalog
through his knowledge and not his actual.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So it does exist. Because at first I wasn't really sure where I was that's not that similar, but now I can see how it would be what this person's talking about.
Yeah.
that definitely goes with
Fangirl who dreams.
Okay. Anyway,
So-
last Would You Watch This is
For our October cast from Space Oranges, they say, I need someone to make a thriller movie that begins as a typical sitcom, cruddy lighting with the laugh track and all, but as the story goes along, things get more and more disturbing until the laugh track that started as kind of annoying becomes downright menacing. So something that you don't expect to be a thriller, and it starts out as a comedy, but then you slowly start to realize that it's a horror movie.
How would you market that though?
yeah
Because it's a twist is that you don't know. It would have to be.
That's true.
I wonder if you could do a Netflix TV series, kind of like Stranger Things.
yeah
Because I don't think you can make that a movie. Because if people sit down in a movie theater and it's a sitcom and they're expecting a horror movie, they're gonna know.
They're gonna know.
Freaked out.
I think it would have to be something like that, or it would have to be similar to
They would have to hint
Funny
at the
Games.
twist.
Did you ever see Funny Games? You guys should watch it. Hank hates it because he had to write part of his thesis on it. But it's pretty good. It's a pretty good thriller.
I love suspense.
And it doesn't happen to the stereotypical, like, horror movie group of people. It happens to a family in a villa where they go golfing. It happens to, like, rich people. And these two people come in and they, like, start playing a game with the family.
Yeah.
Where the family has to, like, pick one of two things, and somebody, like, talks back. They get hit with a golf club or things of the sort. It's very... You know that it's a scary movie, so you're waiting on something to happen, but it's never really like scary.
What you're... Yeah.
It's never really what you're expecting.
It's just unsettling and...
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like what this person was going for. I also like the idea of maybe, like, the audience expecting something to happen, but the characters, maybe kind of what I was picturing is that they all have some sort of, like, psychological disorder where they don't realize that they're torturing each other in a way or something like that, and then whenever the movie ends you find out that they're all in, like, a mental facility or something like that.
I can see how,
and,
like, it becomes more and more, like, the sitcom becomes more disturbing, and that's where the laugh track becomes creepier and creepier because this audience is laughing at this horrible, disturbing, like, twisted whatever.
And I wouldn't want it to, like, shine a bad light on mental disorders, but people know that they can get really bad. You know?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Well, in funny games, if you're going to watch it at home, skip over this part. Just don't listen to the end of the podcast, because this is a crucial point.
Just remember to follow us on Instagram.
In funny games, what happens is they end up killing... Something happens. The guy tells her to pick her son or her husband. She says neither, shoots his partner with the shotgun. Somehow. Gets the shotgun, shoots his partner. And he's ticked off, and he's searching through the couch for the remote. He's like, where's the remote? Where's the remote? Where's the remote? He finds it, and he rewinds the movie.
And is able to, like, undo it?
And is able to undo it, rewinds the movie. And
oh my gosh, that's
and knows what's gonna happen, so he
It's
takes the
very
gun
meta.
from her, and they end up, like, killing the son. Anyway, at the very, very end of the movie, his partner is saying, you know, we're the monsters because we tortured this family, but are we really the monsters because you sat on the other side of the screen and did nothing?
Dang.
So I think that would be kind of the feel that I would look for in something like that. Maybe not like a mental institution, but something kind of...
That's way better
like
than
an overarching, like, outside, like...
like
Like
something
where
that
it
sort
kinda-
of breaks that fourth wall.
I really like it, that way of breaking the fourth wall. And I like how much... See, like, this is something that you cannot put a little amount of thought into. It has to be really, really well thought out. Just like The Village or any sort of suspenseful movie that is well done.
Yeah.
But you might not think The Village is well done. I really liked that movie. Would you watch that? Which ones would you watch out of the three we talked about?
Okay, what was the first one? I can't believe I don't remember. Oh, I would absolutely watch the first one. The Greek mythology.
Yeah. I would watch that.
Series.
Well, I don't know if I would watch it. If you guys are saying it's HBO or Showtime...
You probably would. You just don't realize how good they are.
I would watch that
Too
one.
much of a prude, I think.
I don't know if I would watch the other two, to be honest.
I am currently watching My Hero of Academia, so I would watch the second one. And I definitely would watch the third one, because
See, I don't watch horror movies, though.
I'm thinking of it more of a suspense movie, because that's what I like.
I love suspense and horror.
I don't like horror, because I don't like gore very much. And that was just mostly being, like, really sheltered my whole life, so,
Well, not every horror is gore.
To me, it is.
Not every horror is gore.
I feel like most horror movies...
There are a lot of horror movies
and then,
that
like,
are...
I don't really like demonic things either.
Yeah,
like, that
so-
stuff freaks me out.
Anyway, Go ahead and close this out, Harper.
Yeah, it was so good to have Annalies with us. We definitely want to have her on again in the future, and we hope you liked it too. We'll all say bye, and you make sure to follow us on SoundCloud, Instagram, shoot us a DM or email, and remember to hashtag #beabud with a little sunflower emoji whenever you want us to see your stuff.
Which is the cutest hashtag.
Oh, thanks, Annalies. Bye.
All right, catch you later.
Oh, I have to have that off.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Da 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 da.
Right?
Well,
Theoretically speaking.